wiggly. Music stopped.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the most unpredictable 90 minutes on the internet. The greatest show, the most interactive show on the internet. Why is it unpredictable? Because we didn't have enough prep time, and I'm like rushing through everything, and I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen and who's going to call in. But what we have
I was here on time.
That's well, I'm rushing from point A to point B. There's a lot on my plate, Peppercorn. So tonight we got two hosts, Peppercorn and myself. Because our usual third amigo is getting ready for a play and he's not able to make it here. You know, the whole thing's falling apart. He's got to it's chaos in the city and he's got to make the whole thing
Well,
work.
I mean, he's premiering in Phantom. I guess that is a big deal to him.
That's right. But, since you won't see him without the mask, who's to say that's not Joe Winchell?
But I'm sure he'll be a brilliant Christine.
So
It's a joke for musical theater fans, by the way. We cater to everyone.
Let's give you a rundown of what to expect from tonight's episode. Oh, director, am I looking in the right camera? Is this the camera right here? Or is it that camera? Oh, okay, good. That's the camera right there. So let me give you a rundown of what's on tonight's show. Tonight we've got, this is basically a show dedicated to me. It's, yesterday was the DVD premiere of Caesar and Otto's Deadly XMas, which is why we have like 30 of them on display. And tonight we're going to be talking about for two different cast members and crew members from the film. That's not all we're doing, because it's a night of surprises, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to have our nerd news girl. He's going to carry some stories, going to go over some stories that were very unique from the week. We're going to discuss that. Tim's going to talk about Thor, because I didn't see it. And also Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I believe
That's
he
right.
loves. And we also have a special guest who's a sci-fi author, who we will get to shortly. But this past Saturday in Patchogue, Long Island, we had the DVD premiere of my film, in which I played the character Caesar. Caesar and Otto's Deadly Xmas. I play Caesar, and here's a video of Caesar's DVD signings last weekend at 112 Video, the last video store on Long Island. Just to show you what you missed.
Hi there, I'm Caesar Genovia, world's greatest actor at the premiere of my latest film at 112 Video, the last remaining video store on Long Island. I'm here answering questions that you might have, all my different fans. Yes, you, ma'am.
Can you sign my copy of Home Alone, please?
I wasn't in this crap, get rid of this.
Is this movie gonna be in the theater?
Well, could this be considered a movie theater? Because then the answer is yes.
No, this is a video store, right?
Yes.
What's a video store?
It's like a big version of Redbox.
Isn't it true that...
Son of a bitch, get out of here.
Well, you guys are going to have to leave because you didn't sanction this, so...
Oh, I'm here, one of the pioneers of 112 Video. This is Steve.
How you doing?
Video store still exists, isn't that awesome? So how many titles do you have all over your shelves here? What do you say?
40,000.
40,000 titles. You're not going to get that from Redbox. No. What you get from Redbox? 4 Pamela Anderson videos and the newest release, and then you can go to hell. Look at this dude right here. He's starstruck. Yes, I know I'm famous.
Get away from me, I don't want to talk to you.
And right now we're about to present Deadly Xmas. Oh, welcome to the 112 Videos premiere of Season 9 of Deadly Xmas out Tuesday.
So that's right. You can pretty much, it's all over the world right now. It's pretty much the #1 or 2 rental and purchase of anything out there. But then again, on Amazon, I think they're decimal points over a few places. It says it's ranked 14,000, but it's not bad either.
It's ranked, though.
It's ranked.
I
It's
mean-
out of 500,000, 14,000. I'm ranked up there right with Jack Klugman and Quincy, which is good enough for me for my little tiny film. But it's an insane, if you like insane comedy, off-the-wall comedy, you're either going to think it's brilliant or you're going to think it's the stupidest damn thing you've ever seen. But, that is my sensibilities, and it's these films are a lot of fun to make, and hopefully they're going to be like an ongoing series. You know, this is following the events of Caesar and Otto Summer Camp Massacre. And so first we lampoon summer camp films, and now we lampoon the holiday season.
Because nobody needs to love Christmas more than a psycho Santa Claus.
Well, in this film, we take on Gremlins, Black Christmas, Silent Night, Deadly Night 1, 2, 4, and 5. We take on the whole lot of different. We even take on 24. There's a whole sequence that we lampoon 24. So it is a film. It parodies so much within its short 85-minute runtime, and you'll never get bored. It is just, I'm a hyperactive, pretty much ADD person, and this film reflects me in those moments. So now,
There's a lot of jump cuts, and it makes no sense.
a coherent ADD.
Okay.
Some people might perceive
There's
it
a
that
through
way.
line.
Some people might perceive it that way. So now we have a special caller who's a sci-fi author who I'd like to bring into the conversation. That's right.
Hi.
We have Jennifer Connelly with us, ladies and gentlemen. Jennifer, I loved you so much in The Rocketeer. I always had the biggest crush on you. Wait a second, whose eyebrows are those? That's not Jennifer Connelly. State your name, please.
My name? Oh my God. A. Francis Raymond.
Hey, Francis Raymond, I think I went to school with you.
Yeah, that was a few years ago.
I
Just
think
a
you
few years.
dated Otto's brother, actually. So A. Francis Raymond, I've been hearing about your work for a long time. Can we throw your the picture of her book up on the screen itself? Okay, that's a piece of the cover, right? We're gonna get this thing worked out, right? Technical difficulties here. So, hey, Francis, I would love to hear a little about yourself, how you got involved in sci-fi, and obviously this book that's been available, that's on Amazon. When did this book get released? I know, like, this is, that you're in the process of writing a number of things. The title is very Isaac Asimov to me.
Thank you. That's actually one of the nicest compliments someone can say about anything related to my work, is that in any way, shape, or form, it reminds them of Asimov. That's a great compliment.
But your sensibility, would you say, is in line with Asimov?
In a good number of his writings, he wrote extensively about robots, which is one of the things that I like to write about and just think about. One of the stories, a couple of the stories, are about robots in this book. Most of the writings that I have in work have a significant portion of robots with them, including one longer piece. I'm actually working on a novel where there's a whole race of robots.
What are your favorite sci-fi stories, and what do you think it's most in line with in terms of what other stories that you've read do you think your story is most reminiscent of in terms of tone, of style?
Well, I think my style is my own, but one of the things that I really liked about Asimov, and that I'm trying to imitate a little bit, is his stories were little snippets of how robots behaved, how they acted, how they thought, what they would do in different situations. And that's one of the things that I really like to emulate, is just to kind of have a story and a short snippet that leaves you thinking about, if that happened, a little twist of what would happen in their brain, or what would happen when they interacted with a human in a certain way. But it's that little twist. I like those little snippets into a character's mind.
Now, you also have a series of writing. I mean, from story to story, would you say that everything is connected, or it's just a bunch of, it's many different stories that you've written? Are your stories connected, or are they separate narratives, different times, different places?
Everything that I've put out to date, 100% completely separate. One of the other works that I'm writing, actually this month, anyone who's a fiction writer, a lot of fiction writers right now know that we're in the middle of what we call NaNoWriMo. This is National Novel Writing Month, where there's a challenge to write a 50,000 word novel in the space of 30 days. And so
How
my
many words a
take-
day is that?
That's 1,666 words a day.
You have
Congrats.
mapped this out. That or your Rain Man.
Yep. It's not terribly difficult. The pesky day job kind of gets in the way of that a little bit. So I know for in my case anyway, I'm making up a lot of it on the weekends. But so this year, what I'm doing is I am writing a series of short stories that are related. So this is a new kind of a project for me.
Now, you're very much a nerd girl.
Yes.
Hot nerd girl. Nerd woman. But like, so what was like, you growing up, obviously I'm gonna blow the mythology away here, but we went to school together. And no, I just remember you being a really adorable girl sitting at the table with the sci-fi, novels, reading. And so what would you say, like, your influence growing up, what were the things that inspired you the most from, in terms of sci-fi fiction and film? What do you think is the best examples of what the genre had to offer?
Yeah, I would say hands down the top thing that's been there my entire life is Star Trek. And in particular, the Star Trek, the original series, we saw the reruns, growing up, but the original series, and I guess I am going to kind of put a date on us a little bit.
Don't give away our age.
Oh,
Raymond.
okay. So I'll be not super specific, but the Next Generation came on and was brand new at we'll say an influential time in our lives.
Right, when we were in first grade.
Okay, sure. When we were in first grade, a very influential time in our lives. And
Still kinda
so I
makes
think
old.
that, for me, was really what launched me into complete, geekdom and nerddom.
So it's like you took one look at Picard's bald head and that French accent, you're like, this is the life for me.
Exactly,
I am
yeah.
totally delving into this.
Especially his complete lack of a French accent.
Well, he's Jean,
He's Jean-Luc
British.
Picard. Yeah,
Okay,
he's
fine. He's
got a
British.
standard
But
British accent.
His name is very French. What can I say?
And his
He's
family's
British
from
accent.
France, but I didn't even try to make him French.
I'm thinking back to when the show was on the air, and I was thinking, like, they called him Jean-Luc, and I wasn't at the age where I was really comprehending things enough, and I always thought he was French. Now that you point
He
out...
is in the show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Being a
So,
huge Trek fan myself, he is definitely French. He goes back and visits his family in France.
Yep.
And his family, I think only his nephew has a French accent.
but this is not things you think of. It's funny, like when you're older, how analytical you get toward things that you were not analytical toward as a kid. Wait, that doesn't make sense. What do you mean, the Dukes of Hazzard? Like, you remember looking back at Dukes of Hazzard as adults, you're like, wow, this show really sucks. But when you're like 5,
See, that's because knowledge ruins all fiction.
not all versions. Just make sure look at things a little more closely. Now, if you're casting your film, your time travel and Happy Rainbows, what was it called again?
Time travel is... happiness is time travel and robots.
Happiness is time travel and robots. If you were casting it, who would your leads be? It's not a series of shorts. It's a feature narrative, right?
No, this one is a series of short stories.
And who would you cast me as in one of yours?
Would I cast you in one of mine? Absolutely.
The bellman, waiter.
The waiter. Can I take your order, please?
doorman.
There you go. So no, I said so. So if you imagine, what is your favorite short story in that compilation?
I'd say there are two. There is one called Exchange Policy, and it's my favorite because it's the first one in that group that I did write. I wrote it several years ago, and well, people have to read it, but it involves children robots, and so that's one of my favorites. But the one I really like the best is the first one in the book. It is called A Time Travel Story, and I wrote that so after thinking a little bit about my dad, who he had passed away 2 years ago, and I had this kind of thought, and I think I might have even posted it on Facebook, that I should, go study time travel so I could go back in time and warn him about his illness. And it was kind of like an off-color joke. But then I actually started thinking, well, if I went back in time, how would he believe me that I was really there back in time, knocking on his door and saying, hey, you should go to the doctor right now. And then I thought, well, maybe I don't need to send me as a person back in time, but just a message. And then the same thing. Well, if you send a message back in time, how would someone know? Would you be able to discern if a message showed up in your email, is that a message or is it spam? And so that story came out of that, and I really enjoyed writing that.
And I think I read someplace that today is the day. Today is a significant day for you, the 20th, November 20th.
Yep.
So you're on
it
the
is.
air. We're talking about it to the day.
Yep.
If
Today.
I'm not-
Yeah. Yep. Today is 2 years since my father passed away. So this is kind of odd that we are talking about this.
And it's the inspiration pretty much for this whole novel.
Yeah, for this story, and my dad was very supportive of my desire to write, and he was a big science fiction fan. He was a humongous Robert Heinlein fan, and Isaac Asimov fan, and he's the reason I was exposed to all of that growing up, and Star Trek, and everything science and science fiction.
So your father was really the influence of your geekiness. Father's the reason why you're the nerd you are today.
To some degree, yep, he has to take some credit for that, yes.
Why didn't he name you Uhura? That should have been your name.
I don't think he had a lot of choice.
Okay,
That was
your
more
mom
my
wouldn't have
name.
liked that. So anyway, so we're gonna have to wrap things up. But where can people find your book and your work? Because I know it's not just the novel; you also have other works that are available online.
Yeah, so the best place to look is my website, which is simply afrancisraymond.com. And you can find links to any of my writings, including a lot of flash fiction that I write for the Iron Writer. It's another short contest that's happening every week where anyone interested in writing flash fiction can join. So yeah, afrancisraymond.com. Can I just look at one little thing that's completely random, since you said tonight was a night of randomness?
Oh yeah, bring it
Absolutely,
on,
we welcome it.
I was looking around while I was waiting to talk to you guys, and the only random thing I could find on my shelf, well, there's a lot of random things, but I have Star Wars Mad Libs handy. Just in case.
If we had time, we should definitely play.
Yeah. So what are you doing later there, hey Raymond? You gonna read some Star Wars Mad Lib?
Well, I'll be listening to the
Just
show.
me and Peppercorn. You gonna listen to the rest of the show? Okay, right on.
I'm
I'm gonna
excellent
listen to the
at
rest of the
adverbs.
show, and it's past my bedtime, so then I'm gonna go to bed. But in the meantime, think of some nouns and some adjectives, and we can do some of that.
Okay. It's wonderful talking to you, and continued success on your writing, and hopefully more and more people discover the work that you put out there.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
So now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time on our program that we delve right into our nerd news stories. With this week, we have a special news girl. Well, every news girl is special. I don't want to, choose favorites or anything like that. This one we have, but this one has pink hair. And I can't say that we've ever had that before. Basically, I'm buying time until it gets the video clip ready. It's ready. Let's bring on this week's
Totally ready.
nerd news stories.
Danny, and I'm here at the DVD release of Caesar and Otto's Deadly Xmas at 112 Video.
The last video store on Long Island.
And here's this week's Nerdgasm news. Director Victor Salva of Jeepers Creepers fame says there may finally be good news for those waiting for the third Jeepers film. Unfortunately, he wasn't at liberty to say more.
It will
Funny
be
man Chris
GPN.
Pratt is in the lineup for a lead role in Jurassic World. Talks are in the early stages, with Pratt's shooting commitments on TV's Parks and Recreation one of the major factors that could prevent it.
Hey, I'm trying to watch the movie here.
The fifth Mission Impossible film has been given an official release date of December 25th, 2015. That puts it 1 week after the opening of Star Wars Episode 7 on December 18th. Tom Cruise is due to return as Ethan Hunt in the film, which Jack Reacher director Christopher McQuarrie is set to helm.
I said I'm trying to watch movie here. Oh, I screwed it up.
And that's this week's Nerdgasm News.
What film will you be watching tonight?
Dark Chamber.
Wrong answer. The correct answer is Caesar and Otto's Deadly Xmas.
I'm always wrong.
Wow, you are tough on those girls.
Well, what can I say? She couldn't remember the script. I told her
Dave is a
specifically,
tyrant
hey.
as a director,
That's right.
which will make you
shut up.
appreciate the film more.
You shut up. It's my show. God damn it.
Yeah, this is accurate. This is not him acting. Because it's pretty good.
Hey. I said
I made the engineer
show.
laugh.
I don't like being put down.
So
You got
Jeepers
that?
Creepers 3. How excited are you? I know you're a big fan of the series.
It's a good thing you asked, because I haven't seen any of them.
And that's why he chose it as a news story, because he's got the
Yeah,
in-depth
I chose the
tip.
news stories. It's like, this is how it works, ladies and gentlemen.
Go on Google, type in
Somebody's
nerd.
calling. Yes, exactly.
First three
Nerd
things
this
that
week,
come up.
then within the last week of news, and that's pretty much it. And then somebody's calling in. Is it Otto? Well, Otto's gonna have to hold on. Okay.
Maybe he has the inside tip on Jeepers Creepers 3.
I don't think that's what he's calling about. That's what he's so Jeepers Creepers, you saw part 1? I didn't see
I saw
any
part
of them.
1, and I've seen clips and pieces of part 2. Part 1 wasn't. I've prefaced this all the time. I'm not a huge horror movie fan, but I did watch this one. It is creepy and fairly interesting. It's and it's a pretty short movie, but it's not bad. It reminds me a lot of that foreign movie. I think it was a French movie called Rest Stop. It's sort of similar in that same vein of psycho killer in a truck. And the first one. The second one, I didn't see. I saw clips of it, and anyone who has seen it had told me to skip it. Although I did know actually one of the actors in it. I took an acting class with him ages ago. Nothing personal.
How is he as an actor? I mean, you can be honest. He's not watching this show. So you think to yourself, "Oh my God, this guy is so pretentious."
He is a very attractive guy, and it was the cornerstone of his career. His very brief career. He was on a TV show called Grosse Pointe, and then he was in Jeepers Creepers 2.
Then he gained 300 pounds, and that was the end of his career.
Maybe. I don't know. I haven't seen him since Jeepers Creepers 2. But he was there as the cocky, good-looking guy, which was the extent. He was actually a nice guy in class and stuff like this, but clearly his acting style was, I'm a model who wants to act.
Okay.
Which is, similar to my acting path, but,
Yes. Why are you laughing? Why is Control Room laughing at it?
I don't know. Listen, someone has to model the big and tall clothes. I'm just saying.
So the next news story, I think, was
Jurassic World.
Jurassic World, right? Chris Pratt, who's basically went from like a schlub in Parks and Recreation, and now suddenly it's sort of like, hey, he's sort of an interesting actor, and
He's got a little buzz behind him right now.
Right,
He was
he a little part in Pacific Rim where he worked out, and suddenly it was like, hey, he's in shape, therefore he can act. He could be in these kinds of films.
Yeah. I don't know about you. What do you call it? I'm excited for Jurassic World. They're not fantastic films for in-depth any character study or anything. Why would you go to a movie about big dinosaurs for that? But I've always enjoyed
I wanted the My Dinner with Andre version of Jurassic Park, where it's mainly a big conversation with dinosaurs in the background.
That was, or just the get inside the mind of a velociraptor.
Right.
What makes him tick, or her, I should say. But it should be a fun, exciting movie with people running and getting eaten. And I mean, what else are you looking for in Jurassic World? I'm the last person to tout any Steven Spielberg franchise, but I'm definitely excited to see another Jurassic Park or Jurassic World.
Well, let's go. I mean, the first film seems to be the gold standard. Let me ask you this.
Yes.
A lot of people seem to be crapping on the third film. I don't really get why the third film gets more flack than the second film. It doesn't make sense to me. Second film, the third, to me, was a more, satisfying film.
I think it was just, the second film just got a little, the story's not complicated, but it's a little more, they tried to be clever with it and stuff like this, when really all you want is people stuck in the wilderness with nothing running from dinosaurs. And they went back to that format for the third one. They brought back Sam Neill, who's one of my favorite actors, and I really enjoyed the third one.
But no, the thing is, let's not say this. I was at a screening this past weekend for a film that I wrote the first draft of. It was the sequel to Bikini Girls on Ice, and I was fired from writing the script. But the director was nice enough to invite me to the premiere, so I got to see
So you rub it in.
Right. No, there's a special thanks to me. So I got to watch 2% of my work on screen. Now, this is where the fundamental disagreement between the director and I, who remain friends, is that he thinks that you have to kind of stick to a particular formula only. Now, when no one, okay, in this particular case, I don't think anybody really respects that formula. You might as well just make it suspenseful and make it involve girls that are possibly scantily clad and have some, and anything beyond that, you can pretty much do, so long as it's cohesive. Now, whenever I try to break the mold, which is what I do, he got frustrated. And that's where the artistic disagreement, began and ended. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with Spielberg trying to do that in the second film, but the problem is he didn't do it very well.
No, because there were parts of it where I felt like he was trying to do something a little different, but at the same time, it was really essentially the same thing.
But the kid, the daughter, Jeff Goldblum, doing his Goldblum thing, when he's a supporting character, as in Jurassic movies, he's much more interesting than when he's the lead. Who thought like the coolest character is the coolest supporting character in Jurassic Park 1 would have sort of lost the
making him the central character. Also, I think this was also during the Vince Vaughn trying to prove he was a serious actor phase. So you actually have a very toned down Vince Vaughn who's sort of playing the action hero. There was a time when Hollywood thought he could be the leading man action hero sort of type.
Those days are behind him.
That didn't pan out. His career actually took a big slump until he came back with Old School, when that initial Vince Vaughn character
reinvented himself.
Yeah, and that's been his go-to ever since.
So I think we're losing the audience's attention here. You forgot this is a live interactive show, because I could read into your soul. I know what you're thinking. So we're on to the top news story, which was Mission Impossible 5.
I mean, yes.
I've liked them. I liked each one progressively more.
I watched. I've only seen the first three, I liked the first one, which apparently a lot of people had problems with, and subsequently since I was just like, it's an action. I mean, I did. I was like, apparently I was like one of the few people that because I liked you didn't know who,
You didn't know anything is what the problem was,
but and then you discover it, and then you look back at the film, and I'm a big mystery movie fan.
Oh, the mystery, the whole film is a mystery, you're right, because I still can't follow Mission Impossible 1. I'm totally confused about Mission Impossible 1.
Really? I think it was pretty obvious to me after I watched it. But, there was discoveries. But, I'm not the biggest Tom Cruise fan, although I'm a big fan of Top Gun. But who isn't? So it's just any chance to avoid seeing 2 hours of Tom Cruise, I will take it. So I'll be skipping that one.
I want to see, I think the chat room has it right when the best film that Hollywood could make is Guinea Pig Park. Instead of, we don't need a Jurassic World, we don't need a Mission Impossible 5, we need a Guinea Pig Park. So this
Summer
was
2015.
This was the moment in the show that Deron Miller was going to call in, and we were going to talk about his stellar part in Caesar and Otto's Deadly Xmas. But you know what? As a matter of fact, what we're going to do right now is we're going to show you the great acting of Deron Miller in an exclusive clip only right here on Nerdgasm that you won't see anywhere else. This is a scene from the movie that you will be that I have not presented online or anywhere else. So here we go. Let's give you a setup of the scene. This storyline involves Caesar and Otto getting being roped into traveling Santa Clauses at XMas Enterprises. Caesar's got this agent played by Linnea Quigley, who was a 80s movie star. She's playing pretty much a version of herself, a twisted version of herself. Now she's over 40. She's not a success anymore. She was a big star in her 20s, and now she's in her late 40s, and forget it. And I have a list of Thanksgiving guests, and everybody who canceled, I publicly acted. I publicly had a meltdown in public. I had a meltdown in public, and then one of the other Santas who works at XMas Enterprises, the janitor at XMas Enterprises, takes it upon himself to basically wipe out everybody that I have a problem with. So they're they're taking my list of canceled Thanksgiving dinner deaths and turning it into a list of victims. Well, for what reason? You find out at the end. So here's that clip of the two of them meeting.
What are you still doing here?
Well, I just wanted you to know what an admirer I am.
Wait a minute, who are you?
I'm Demian. Huge fan. You're just one of the best. I wanted you to know that. By the way, why are you in here? Why aren't you out acting?
I was blacklisted.
For what?
I turned 40.
You know, they take a beautiful young talent, such as yourself, and they hide her away from the rest of the world. It's a tragedy.
Maybe tragedy is a slightly strong word.
Hey, I remember these. These are from your death scene in Yuletide Massacre. Santa shoves you up against it, and you yell, "No, I've been good!" I'm not as good as you are, though.
That wasn't bad. A little over the top.
Well, it's not like the master. Do you think we could recreate that scene real quick? I mean, it would mean the world to me.
You're cute. Well, the line wasn't, "No, I've been good." But in the scene, I was inching my way back. Kind of like a pig. Very Stanislavskian. And the pig was my character deep down inside of me, right? And then I said, "No, Santa, I've been a good girl."
Very good indeed.
And I think we got, as per my post, I think we get Deron Miller on the line. Is that right? This isn't Deron. Who the hell is this?
Hello?
Oh my God, it's my idiot half-brother, Otto.
Is this Caesar?
So what if it is?
Where's my rubber duck? You took it, didn't you? Where's
That's
my
right. This
rubber
is
duck?
actually tied into a storyline of my rubber duck and Caesar on a summer camp massacre, and Otto stole it. And I
What's
forever,
up, kids?
Not too much. We're hosting this little show called Nerdgasm. Right on radio.com.
I thought this was orgasm. I'm looking for the hot girls, man.
No, you're on the wrong nerdgasm.com. So,
Is there another nerdgasm.com?
I'm sure there is. I just chose not to try.
Was I supposed to show up at that job instead?
So, Otto, you've been in. This is the. You've been in this with me from the beginning. Obviously, we only have pictures of Deron Miller. So, as we're talking, Otto, we're going to be throwing up pictures of CKY guitarist, lead singer, guitarist, actor, as opposed to you. So we apologize.
Well, you promised me big money since the first Caesar and Otto, so where the hell is it,
Oh my
man?
gosh, it's
The
amazing.
check's in the mail, really? Come on.
That's you, Paul. That's you. You see that? You remember that scene? No, I don't think you did. So, Paul, we've been in this from the very beginning. The way that this began was you came over back when you were living on Long Island. I'm like, and we're film people. Like we do sketches. You've been there.
Yeah.
Set up the camera, and I've got this great idea. And I tell me, okay, I'm the effeminate theater goer, aspiring actor, and you're my mentally challenged brother. Now, granted, that's been reshaped because you just throw pieces out. You just throw like random characters, and there was something about the chemistry of these two people.
Yeah, even when I played a mentally challenged, I kind of thought there was chemistry, oddly enough.
Yeah, but let's be honest. The first
I
time
understand that.
Still chemistry with me. But the thing is, like,
sometimes you have to check your brain when working with Dave.
You're fired. Get the hell out of here. So the thing was, there was a germ of something there, and there was a sort of mice. Even though it was a comedy, it was a sort of mice and men dynamic.
Are you calling me a germ?
Yes. It was a sort of a mice and men, Lenny and what's his other character's name? Caesar. No, Lenny and George dynamic between the two characters, and it was something. Even though that they sort of hated each other on one level, they sort of needed each other. And
yeah, like Odd Couple, yeah.
Yeah, and even though we're three stooges, we still have these underpinnings. I think all comedy, Tim, I'm not sure if you agree with me on this, all comedy is the undercurrent of drama. And
well, yeah, I mean, Woody Allen had the interesting movie a couple of years ago where you changed the story slightly, You get a drama and then you get a comedy. I think there's always the best comedies always have a
Right, Dumb
deep
and Dumber. That film was great.
Yeah,
Woody Allen's best film.
A show on Woody Allen would be good.
Yeah, he is a nerd, but not the kind of nerds we're pandering to. Could you imagine Woody Allen reviewing Thor? It's about a guy with a big hammer. Like, no, that's not it.
We're seeing a lot of Dave impressions lately. Is there a way to stem that? Since you've worked with him so much.
All right, that's it, Tim. Now I'm going to imitate you. Next
You need to drop the voice down a little bit more.
Yes.
I love this how out of place I am. There's pictures of Deron on the screen, and you're talking to Otto.
He was
planned,
and the audience has to settle on clips from Deadly Xmas.
Want me to pretend to be him?
No.
Hey, man. Hey.
So now, Paul, a.k.a. Otto, we shot a lot of this film in your apartment. Like these films have pretty much been shot in your neck of the woods, man.
We did a lot of stuff in my apartment.
Pretty much, the first film we shot was like 75% in your apartment. It's basically when you're making a micro-budget film, you only shoot the places you can have access to, that around the sneak. And, you're my friend from here. You moved out to L.A. and you're so inviting that how could I? That's the one place we know we won't get kicked out of when we shoot these movies.
I might get kicked out, but I don't know how neighbors didn't complain.
Right, we shot a scene. There was so much blood and screaming in the scene we did from Deadly Xmas.
Remember how loud the blood machine was?
Everything about that. We set the damn alarm off in your apartment. There's a scene in Deadly Xmas that basically we massacre you. Evil Santa comes in and whips out a chainsaw and is screaming and yelling. We're shooting this 1 a.m. Your neighbors, granted they might have been completely stoned, were amazing because they never complained once.
Well, that hallway does smell like pot, pretty much.
Good. That is the kind of
neighbors.
It's
terrifying that they didn't call the cops. I would be a
what's
little
funny,
worried
Dave?
that there was no reaction.
Dave, what's funny is I've gotten my neighbor has come over and told me to turn the music down when it wasn't even that loud. But this machine spewing blood at 1 a.m, she had no problem with it.
And you screaming at the same time? Because you're screaming at the top
Maybe
of your
that
lungs.
was what they were hoping for all along.
So like, oh, thank God, he's finally getting murdered. We could get a new. Oh, you were faking it, son of a bitch.
Massacre good, Led Zeppelin bad. That's the way they are.
All right, brother.
Yeah, that was very fun times.
Yeah, you're getting murdered and me watching it. Okay, now this is really not much of a spoiler in terms of Deadly Xmas. So if you're a Long Islander and you're watching this broadcast between Otto and myself on December 26th, the day after Christmas, you can catch Otto and myself at a special charity screening along with the Gooligans, another Long Island comedy troupe in Elwood. So keep an eye out for the Elwood, and it's gonna be a fundraiser for the victims of the typhoon.
Peppercorn, you going, man? You going?
I will be there this time. Absolutely.
Excellent. I want to meet you. I'm a fan of your opinions here.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad someone is. Dave isn't.
Man, see, the thing is, conflict presents drama. Who wants to watch two people agreeing with each other? Okay.
I disagree.
Okay.
I would enjoy a nice show where, that's what the Today Show is. Everyone sits down on a nice couch and agrees.
So I think it is now time on Sprockets. It is now time on Nerdgasm. I'm sorry, who was on the phone? Who? Oh my God, he's on the phone!
You got
Patch
me for
him
nothing,
through.
man.
Paul, hang up. Get rid of that son of a bitch.
These folks. You chip these folks.
Put the real star on. Get rid of it. Hey, Paul.
I can't believe you put me on. See you.
Click, hang up, Paul. Patch him through.
Paul's name is in the title. It's like too much trouble.
This is Deron Miller on the phone.
Hey.
Hey, pal. How are you, man?
I'm good. Connection's terrible. Of course, I'm on a cell phone. You're probably.
When
where
you get a cell phone? When you get a cell phone? I know you've been anti-cell phone for a long time.
Oh, I'm not using my cell phone.
Oh, okay.
Borrowed one from a kid on the street.
Hey, brother. So Deadly Xmas marks the second time that you've been involved in the Cesar Romano series, and the first time out, I mean, we were really going for something very, very campy in terms of your performance. And the next time that we did it, I mean, because it was a fluke. You do know that the character that you play in Deadly Xmas was written for like a Vietnam vet who was gonna be like in his 60s. There was this guy who wanted to be like, he was producing the film before I realized he was psychotic and had no intention of actually producing the film. And he says, I want you to write the character for Vic Noto from Street Trash. And he's going to be 60, and I'm like, all right, we'll make the villain that. And once he went that way, and I was trying to think about who can actually play this character. I thought about Robert Zadar, and then the thought occurred to me, Silent Night, Deadly Night, which is a film that you and I really admire, deals with a young character. Deals with somebody that's kind of coming of age and discovering his.
Although he seemed much older than that.
Yeah,
I think he was supposed to be 18, but I think that guy was. If we're talking about Robert Brian Wilson, I think he was a lot older.
It seems to be the way they do it, especially like in the 80s. It's like anytime you play it. Well, you love Mad Men. That was like the oldest teenagers in any film ever.
Yeah, that's true.
Well,
they were counselors though. They were supposed to be counselors.
Okay. But still, counselors
it's funny
usually.
because people refer to these movies as dead teenager movies, but I don't think any of them are really teenagers.
Right.
Maybe
it's more like
prom night or something. I don't know.
Dead 30-something. It's more like the genre that you had. So you've been working a lot, my man. It seems like every time I turn around, you're acting in another horror film. You had a part in Jurassic Block.
Yeah.
And so, like, how many horror films have you done? I mean, is it only horror, pretty much, that you've done lately, or have you been doing a lot of different kinds of movies as well? I haven't. I'm not one to go out and audition, although I would like to eventually do that. But Felissa produces movies, and she helps people out. And whenever somebody, Dave should know, you should know this. Somebody needs to fill an empty slot. I'm the guy that they call. And Darren, there's an empty slot. Get over here.
Yeah. So that's pretty much what I'm doing right now. My main focus is music, but I definitely am going to try to do more acting work. I'm not going to limit myself to anything. I mean, I'm open to playing a big fat woman.
Crazy. Are you up for that part in Crazy Fat Ethel, the remake here?
No. And I'm kind of it's unfortunate that that remake is having so much trouble getting off the ground because it has so much potential. I mean, I love the original, Criminally Insane.
Well, you were the person that introduced me because we were together. I was spending some time with you and Felissa as we were working on that script that Deron had pitched the script idea to me. And I'm like, I'm flying out. I want to write this thing with you. Incidentally, that script that we wrote apparently was very prophetic, because now the concept of the script that you thought of is sort of coming real. And while we were there, you showed me You showed me Criminally Insane and Crazy Fat Ethel too, and I was so amazed. I mean, you have such an eclectic knowledge of horror movies.
Yeah, I would say, it's definitely limited. I am a slasher film expert, I would say. Horror, that's a pretty broad genre. But I'm mostly into slasher films, and my new favorite subgenre of film is the oh shit, we're in a fucked up situation, like 4 people locked in a sauna or 3 people stuck on a ski lift. I love
Frozen. You introduced me to that as well.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I just love those, and I came up with a really good idea for one that I want to.
We're gonna be writing it together.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, there's just I sit down and I just brainstorm and I come up with all these ideas that I want to do, and they happen in my head much quicker than they happen in reality. And
But,
I've always been like that.
It's interesting, like you've known the progression of the Caesar Ronaldo series. When I came up with the idea for summer camp, boom, it was done. Like I had it written in 1 month. And then with Deadly Xmas, which you had a much more prominent part, that took like a year to write. Sometimes certain storylines come together just overnight, and other storylines, really gestate over a very long period of time. It's just kind of dependent on the material. Unforgiven was a script that I heard was been written and rewritten over 10 years before it finally came to pass. Musically, you're juggling a number of things right now. I feel like you're doing a lot of acoustic things that you're selling on Facebook. So what is some of the stuff?
I have an album coming out called Acoustified.
Cool, and it's a lot of this.
It isn't a word, actually. It's Acoustified isn't a word, but I define it. Huh?
It sounds like a word. You just like
yeah, I
coined
know.
the phrase.
That's why when I looked it up in the dictionary and it wasn't there, I thought that was really strange. But for obvious reasons, no, it's not a word.
Did you trademark it?
But
Because
the definition of it is to acoustify a song, is to take an electric song and break it down.
You realize, like in a month right now, all the big singers are gonna be like, I acoustified this song, and they'd be like, where did I hear that?
Right.
So, and that's coming out when? When will the release on that be?
Well, it's done finally, physically. The 15-track main version of the album is finished. I still have some extra tracks to work on, but it's up to the manufacturer.
Cool. And
those things rarely run smoothly. The World Under Blood vinyl, I was told, was going to take 6 weeks, and ended up taking almost 6 months.
Yeah. I remember even when I was staying with you, you were doing some, I think, post on World Under Blood, and just I remember the headaches that you were going through, because there's always on the technical end of things, outside the artistic end of things, and which I relate to as well, because when you're doing the post stuff, it's forget about it. You just there's so many more headaches than there has to be. We're artists, so we want to just be able to crank this stuff out and not have to worry about all the technical failings from different departments.
Exactly, and being in the arts, in the entertainment industry, you're working with people that have hectic schedules and are trying to work as much as they can. And I would say that the entertainment industry is about as more unreliable than any other industry. And when you're trying to make a deadline, when you're doing something all by yourself, you hope that you come out, pretty much at a decent time. You don't want to take too much time, but you also have to depend on other people, and something might come up with them, and they also work in the entertainment industry, so they have, their issues. Things come in, things go, and problems arise, and it's hard. I like working on things by myself. I like working with others too, but I like doing things by myself, and I did this acoustic record by myself, and with the help of an engineer, a really good friend, and I really liked it. But now I have to put it in the hands of somebody else to make sure that it gets done and printed up and released.
I gotta say, I think you have an amazing sensibility, not just musically but cinematically. The way that you carry your performance in Deadly Xmas is perfect for what I'm looking for. Even though it's camp, my character's like this, I still try to have nuance in what I do. Can you believe it?
Acting is strange, because I don't know about anybody else, but acting is really strange, because you can't get used to the fact that if you're watching yourself, you totally can recall the look on your face, what you were thinking, how you were insecure, maybe nervous, maybe it's impossible to look at other people in a movie and see that. But when you see yourself, it's almost impossible to judge your performance, because you know exactly what you're trying to do, and that just kind of takes up so much of your thought process when you're watching it, if that makes sense. I don't know. But I just, in other words, I feel like I stick out like a sore thumb whenever I see myself on TV.
Trust me, you're not. Because if you were,
Because I feel it.
your part would be a lot shorter in the film. You'd think to yourself, wait, I could have sworn I was in half the film. Why am I only in 30 seconds? You know, like, there wasn't any scene of yours that I even cut out. You know, you were on level, on point, and I'm so proud of what you did.
I appreciate that. I love playing the part, and I've definitely improved, I think. You know, I'm gonna be honest about, you know, acting. I'm still learning it. I'm still learning the craft, and I'm getting better at it. The last film I just did, No Solicitors, I play I was a solicitor, and apparently the family, you know, those no soliciting signs that people put out on their houses. They don't want people coming up trying to sell them stuff.
Uh-oh.
Eric Roberts and Beverly Randolph play these parents who, whenever somebody comes to their house to try to sell them something, they invite them in, and then they end up in the basement for harvesting their body parts and cannibalism. So I play a solicitor that's been kidnapped and.
Really? Okay, so you're on the opposite end of the killing spectrum of that one. So
yeah,
in Deadly Xmas, you're the psychopath. In this one, you're the solicitor that shares an untimely fate.
So I mean, I like to do horror, but you know, I would consider Caesar and Otto more of comedy. I mean, it's horror based, and it you know, it represents itself in that genre. But I mean, there really isn't anything, you know, suspenseful or scary, because you know that it's a joke. Like, it's
right.
You know,
but you know, there's times where it teeters on legitimate suspense, like when you're confronting Linnea quickly. It's that weird fine line between being comic and suspenseful, which is a fun, you know, which is a fun path to cross.
Like I said, you know, thinking you telling me that is something that I would never have figured out, because the filming with me and Linnea was anything but suspenseful.
Yeah.
You know, so it's hard for me to judge whether that scene is effective in a scary way or not, because all we did was laugh, you know?
No, there's a look in your eye that makes, you know, the audience knows that things are not going to end well for her.
Right.
So lastly, we're about to head to commercial, but before we do, I know you rewatched Deadly Xmas a night or two ago, and the final copy's in the mail to you right now, but you know, you seem to have a different perspective on it when you rewatched it.
Oh yeah, well, the first one and the one that I watched and did commentary for was an old cut, and you know, it's virtually the same movie, and I was impressed with it, but I wasn't nearly as impressed with the second DVD that I found right next to it. that was much more recent and much more complete. So I was really impressed with that compared to what I had been watching.
Well, you know, the thing is,
and I didn't notice any difference in the final DVD that just got released and the one I just watched.
Now the differences are marginal. You pretty much watch the final thing, but you know, people are going to look at this, and you know, some people are going to be like confused because it's not exactly what they're anticipating, and people are going to be confused by the amount of or surprised by the amount of story that there is. You know, because there is a lot of story.
There's a lot of story, and that's exactly what I was thinking. I'm like, I said, this is a work of art, and I really mean that, because it is chock full. I mean, it's crammed with references and things you have to figure out, and I don't know if people like that have, or movies like that always. It's hard for those movies to find an audience, but when they do, it ends up, you know, being a cult phenomenon.
Yeah.
But you know, the Summer Camp Massacre, not as much, but this Christmas one is just jam-packed with enough gags for like 3 movies.
Yeah, with a lot of story, you know, that's the way I love to do it. And some people are going to be sort of confused by that, and some people are going to be like, bring it on. Deron, I love you, brother. So we're going to cut to commercial break. Thank you so much for calling in, and I hope we'll be talking very soon.
Cool, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Take care now. It's now time of Nerdgasm that we hit commercial break. Bring on the commercial.
read this going across.
InRavio.com. Fasten your seatbelts. It's gonna be a bumpy ride.
If you want to increase business, you've got to advertise. Contact Resonant Voiceovers for an effective, affordable commercial spot. Our production, audio, and editing personnel will create top-quality recordings to promote your business. Start getting internet exposure for your business today, right here on InRavio.com. To contact Resonant Voiceovers, go to the InRavio Advertisers and Sponsors page and click on Resonant Voiceovers. Resonant Voiceovers, when you want your message to resonate.
Hey, this is Dan Jacobson, the host of Dear Dad. You can listen to me here Thursdays from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock. You're listening to InRavio.com, broadcasting to the world.
YouNeedAPart.com. Fast and free, the internet's top used parts locator service. Over 3 million part searches since 2001. Salvage yards, sell more parts. Become a member today. YouNeedAPart.com. Tell them you heard it on InRavio.com.
In Radio. Back to the music in 60 seconds.
What is this?
We are on Nerdgasm.
Oh, okay. Oh, I remember now. Yes, that's that show that I host. So now with us on the phone, this on Skype, to my understanding, is one of my co-stars from Caesar and Otto's Deadly Xmas, because you can't get enough Caesar and Otto in this whole episode. I could tell from the views. You guys are going through the roof. So, hey, that's a nice shirt you got on there, pal, because that's all I can
Silence! This is an operative from the secret nerd base. Avi will be here soon. I just wanted to speak for a moment on the secret nerd base, and I cannot show my face.
Okay. Let's just get this over with.
So I just wanted to say hello from our group. We're a ragtag group of mercenaries and bounty hunters. We collect the best stuff on the internet for you. Everything from sci-fi to comics, video games, science, pop culture, everything. We have guys out there with proprietary algorithms, and they scour the web for all the best memes, And we have insect-like nanobots trying to capture the hearts and the souls of our members. And I guess that's all I have to say. Signing out as the operative.
Now, let me ask you that.
Hi,
there we go.
How's it going?
Now, not that dude was the same as you, because clearly they weren't.
No, that was me, right? You're editing that out later, right?
No, this is live, pal. So,
this is live?
Yeah. He's screwed now.
Okay.
So now, if anybody want to go to Secret Nerd Database, which is this website that I know you're a fan of, how do they go there? How do they find it?
We're on Facebook, and it's not database. It's thesecretnerdbase.com. The guy over there is telling me. Yes, thesecretnerdbase.com. Oh, no, not. I'm sorry. It's on Facebook. It's facebook.com/thesecretnerdbase.
Now tell us a little bit about your character in the Caesar and Otto films.
Well, in Caesar and Otto, I am Drew, a really affable, nice guy who has really unfortunate luck. He gets his arms just cut off many times between the couple of movies. I see you had Summer Camp Massacre up there as well, reoccurring character, and unfortunately get chopped up a couple different times, but the arms keep growing back, you know.
It's not that they grow back. It's just that we have good doctors.
Well, they get reattached.
So like we pretty much left you for dead in the previous film, and in this film, you were telling me on the set, can you bring this guy back? I'm like, I don't know, he's dead, man. He's dead. He's dead. Like, all right, I'll bring him back. And then I was thinking of all the opportunities because you kind of reinvented the character. I had something simple on the page, and then you elaborated on it, and I'm like, I've got to use you guys some more. And explain to us what it's like. I mean, like, you're under the effects. I mean, do you have any funny stories? I know you do, of what it's like to be in the middle of the public, drenched in blood, fake blood, and your arms cut off.
Well, first of all, it's really sticky, really, really sticky, and takes forever to come off.
That's what he said.
Oh no! I guess I totally set myself up for that one.
That was awful. I apologize.
Glad I didn't say it tastes good or something like that, because it is Karo syrup, corn syrup. Anyway, yeah, I mean it. Now there's no place to go. That's what.
It's okay. Now just pretend I didn't. I didn't say that. Okay. I didn't say that.
So there's various thicknesses of blood, right? A lot of it's watered down, so you can use a spray can. A lot of it's real thick gel-like stuff. So I mean, it gets in your eyes everywhere, but it's a great time, and it looks awesome when the final product is done. So
and nobody can get mutilated like you. I got to just say that. Now you have we have a song in the end credits named "Kill Them All," and that was by the AKG Development. Who's the AKG Development?
Basically, AKG Development, I mean, those are my initials, AKG. I'm Avi K Garg. It's sort of a library of all the stuff I've done over the years in different bands or solo projects, and I kind of just put them all together under one thing. And
it must be so hard for you to play with that on the arms.
Yeah, I know, totally. I've learned to play with them. Actually, there's a guy in my hometown that doesn't have any arms, and he can play with his feet, and it's amazing. He plays amazingly. I wish we had that on tape. But anyway. Yeah, it's hard to play with yourself.
Oh.
Damn it, I did it again. All right, anyway.
Now with, you're involved, you're like a Renaissance man because you're involved, you're a great actor. I've seen a lot of you, I've seen some of the other films that you've done. And, I definitely want you around for all the different Caesar and Otto films. Now, you also, you're involved in something else, right? There was
another project that I did kind of along. I thought I wanted to talk about here because it's definitely sort of a nerdy thing. It's called Phoenix Christ Superstar. It's another musical project. Basically, a friend of mine, John Perkovic, had this idea. Jean Grey in X-Men is sort of a parallel to Jesus. She died for the mutants' sins, and then was, came back from the dead, pure of heart, and, she helps people, miracles, that type of thing. So he took a big step further and made this big storyline, basically like Wolverine is sort of like Judas, and he gives up Jean Grey, and it's like it's based on Jesus Christ Superstar, but it's updated with really good rock and roll, and we also threw in Led Zeppelin theme all throughout it. So every single song has like a Led Zeppelin theme to it. I play Stryker, William Stryker. So I'm an enemy of Jean Grey and Wolverine, and it's basically the same character in biblical times or whatever, or in Jesus Christ Superstar as Caiaphas, the high priest that plots to get Jesus put on trial. So it's a pretty
Okay.
interesting project. That's myspace.com.
MySpace?
Phoenix
What the hell is
Price
that?
Superstar. Yeah, MySpace. It's old school.
Okay,
Keep it
so
old
That was
school.
popular back in the early 2000s.
find Avi on Facebook as well. Just type in Avi Garg. So, Avi, we're going to have to move on to producer Joe Randazzo now. So it is wonderful talking to you, and I promise to cut your arms off another few times in future films.
Great. Nice talking to you guys, too. And, keep
I'm waving
nerding
at you.
on.
You're not up there. So I'm looking at your monitor. I'm
You
waving
have to wave
at
to
you.
the camera.
Yeah, okay. So we'll be talking to you two very soon. And it is now time that we move on to Joe Randazzo, producer on this film. We had a
I'm
few
not Joe
producing parts.
Randazzo.
Okay, now Joe's yeah. After we talk to Joe, you want to stay tuned for a special a review of the new Thor movie, whatever the hell it's called, Dark Side of the Moon. And
Thor: The Dark World.
Dark World. That's all Tim Peppercorn Montgomery. It's going to be behind that, and also
I did it all myself.
Right.
Watched
Yeah.
it all by myself. Nah, it's not true, but I watched it.
Well, there's nobody else in the theater, right? I've been hearing, like, when Joe, who's calling it now, went to see Thor, he said it was a midnight show, and it was like him and his friend.
Really? You don't have the Thor trailer? Dave dropping the ball. Should we read this now? Okay. Built-in commercial. Special announcement. InRavio has tickets to see Megadeth at the Paramount in Huntington, New York. And we want to send you. Click on the contest tab to enter to win a pair of tickets to the December 3rd show. I don't like that take. Let me try that one again. Tab to enter to win a pair of tickets to the December 3rd show. It's better. Go to ParamountNewYork.com for more information.
Is there a typo on the red out there?
No, it just says info. And I can't read what's not written. So.
Okay. Does he want me to signal him again? Yes, oh my gosh, we have a guess who. We have a guess who that is going to knock your socks off.
Is
and
it Dave
pertains. Okay.
Is it
Well,
Joe?
can we let's show up the first guess who. Just throw it up there for a second, then we'll go right into Joe. I want the audience to think about who this is a photograph of. Guess A. Oh my gosh, who could this person be? You probably know it. You could see it in this person's face who they grew up to be. Do you know, Peppercorn? All right, let's throw Joe on as the audience mulls over who the hell this is.
Do I get anything if I guess it right?
Yes, you do. But I'm not
Okay.
going to tell you until you guess it right. Oh my God! Somebody's too close to the camera.
I'm on my iPhone, so this is the best I could do.
There's
By
Skype
the
on
way, I'm getting
iPhone?
a lot of static from you guys. I'm not hearing you that good.
Okay, so we'll talk really loud. We'll act like you're hard of hearing. I'll talk to you like I talk to my my hard of hearing grandparents. So Joe, how is Chicago? Sorry, pal. So now tell me about your experience. You live in a state with family videos. Now our film, Deadly Xmas, is carried in all the family videos across the country. So what was it like going into the video store picking up a copy of our film?
Actually, not only am I right now in a state where we have family video, I'm also in the state where the headquarters of family video is, and it's actually like 2 miles from me. But no, it's kind of cool, when you're a kid that grew up going to video stores. God, I look like hell right now. My hair's like all fucked up.
What do you think you are, me? You're just in the vanity crap.
So, when you grow up being a kid who practically lives in video stores, I mean, I spent most of high school in video stores in Brooklyn, like on my knees going through dusty shelves trying to find whatever random horror movie I wanted. So to walk in and see something with your name on it as a story writer and producer is pretty cool. I didn't rent it though because I don't have a membership and it's 4 miles away from me. So why the fuck would I rent it?
Oh, Joe, not on this network, pal. They're a little more PC on this network. So, this is not like that other network that we were working on. So, you're working on a bunch of projects as a result of Perfect Candidate. On the same disc as Deadly Xmas, we have the short film with Joe Estevez. That was your storyline, where it was different. It was your idea about Joe Estevez running for president, and you came up with the storyline. You pretty much got the whole thing together, and now it's a bonus feature on this disc.
In my defense, I was drunk when I came up with the idea, but it turned out
That's
okay.
when the best ideas come.
Well, it did turn out to be okay, didn't it? Yeah, I mean, it was just in Brooklyn around the time Charlie Sheen was having his meltdown. We thought it'd be brilliant to the whole Charlie Sheen for president thing that people were talking about at that point. I just kind of went with it. Like, we can't get Charlie Sheen, but hey, Dave made a movie with his uncle. I didn't quite understand the fact he was being a B-movie guy and growing up watching Beach Babes from Beyond on Cinemax. I didn't grasp that apparently like 90% of the planet has no idea who Joe Estevez is.
That's right, yeah, because when we play this film at different festivals, some people don't realize that Joe Estevez is Martin Sheen are brothers, or that Joe Estevez is is Charlie Sheen's uncle. So some of the jokes go over their head. We shot that entire film, the short film that accompanies Deadly Xmas, in your apartment, the apartment that you had out in L.A. The whole thing in one day. It was like 15 minutes, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, and if it was you're a big reason why this film, Deadly Xmas, and this film exist. So I thank you.
Thanks. I mean, you're the main reason why Deadly Xmas at least exists. I mean, sorry about my my raspiness. I'm going through. I've had a cold for a few days. It's kind of taking its toll on my voice.
Just say you're a crack addict. It's going to add to the allure. Like, sorry about the congestion. I've just been using lots of crack.
I only do crack when I'm hammered.
Okay.
I might have done crack during one of my many drunken binges.
So
that'll get you elected in Canada.
So quickly speaking, because we're about to go into our Thor segue, but what are you working on currently, my friend?
Currently working on 2 screenplays. One of them is based on a novel called Escaping Death's Sting by Joel Lee Russell. And I'm wrapping up another one called Out of the Box, based on a novel called Out of the Box by a woman named Julie Morse. I'm finishing up the first draft of one, and I'm finishing up the 4th draft of the other.
So you are a working screenwriter in the biz, and you contributed to the Deadly Xmas story. I thank you so much.
Better or worse, a working screenwriter most of whose work has not actually been filmed.
Well, it's about to. So wonderful having you on, Joe. You and I will be talking really soon, and
I'll just throw in my opinion on Thor 2. It was boring as hell.
Okay, good. Thanks. I know where you're going with that. Okay, and thank you for the mini Thor review. And now it's time to turn this show over to Tim Peppercorn Montgomery.
Should we? Let me see if I'm right on the Guess Who. Someone did guess Vince Vaughn, but
that's what the Vince Vaughn. Okay, we're gonna throw the picture up. Let's just say it pertains. Let's go back to who's that? Look at that face.
All right, I'm gonna guess Anthony Hopkins.
You're right. Let's show that's who he was. That was Anthony Hopkins when he was 25 years old in the other picture. So yeah, good job, man.
It was when he was 25. That picture?
No, he was like 8.
It's like he has aged terribly. At first, he started off well. All right. Well, we unfortunately do not have the trailer to Thor: The Dark World. I apologize that Dave didn't send it.
I did send it.
It's all right. If you've gotten to this point and you haven't seen this trailer, which has been everywhere, I can't help you out, man. So let me give you a little gist of Thor. the Dark World. Thor the Dark. Brief synopsis first. So this Thor movie takes place approximately 2 years after the first Thor movie and after the events of the Avengers. And in that 2 years, our hero, Thor, the Prince of Asgard, has been essentially going through the 9 realms, which is like the universe, or how they refer to it, battling and trying to bring peace back to the realms after Loki, his brother, have screwed it up. And in his free times, he basically sits around and pines for the scientist he knew for 3 days 2 years ago. At the same time, that said scientist is living in London, and she happens to stumble on some wormholes that take her to another dimension, and she gets attacked and possessed by some floating red ooze, which gives Thor the perfect opportunity to finally go back to Earth to see her, and then in turn brings her back to Asgard so that she can be protected, because apparently this red ooze is a weapon that was used by the Dark Elves thousands of years ago, hundreds of thousand years ago, or 5,000 years ago. They say both, actually, in the movie. So in Asgard, he thinks to be safe. He's wrong. There's an invasion. Someone important dies. There's a brief moment of sadness. Then Thor hatches a crazy plan that doesn't make any sense. But you get Loki back in the movie, and the audience is suddenly happy because you needed Loki in the movie. And then it all ends with a big, weird fight in the middle of London. And that's pretty much the gist of it, story-wise. Now let me give you what I thought of the movie overall, in case you didn't pick it out from what I just said. This movie is not terribly awful, but it's really not terribly good. The first 45 minutes of this movie are just choppy and all over the place and drag. They're not particularly interesting. There's just a ton of exposition filling in, one, who the Dark Elves were, their leader Malekith, who's played by Ninth Doctor Christopher Eccleston. And if you ever played the Doctor, then you're stuck being referred to as that. Christopher Eccleston. And then there's a narration and all this other stuff. The movie doesn't really start picking up until towards the end of the first hour. And then the excitement and action of it and some of the wit is fun. You have a good time for that part of it if you can sit through it up until that point. But it's not one of Marvel's, and Marvel has put out some pretty good comic book movies. I mean, I think most of us enjoyed the Iron Man series. I know I really enjoyed Iron Man 1 and 3, and I didn't think 2 was as awful as most people said. I liked the Avengers and Captain America. The first Thor movie was okay. I mean, it was serviceable. This one, again, it's a serviceable movie. I'm actually... I like Chris Hemsworth. I think he's a pretty good actor. I think he's got a way to go. He's maturing, and I think in a couple of years he's going to be even much better. But this movie doesn't really ask much of him, aside from being big and strong, which he's clearly got down. Tom Hiddleston as Loki, once again, is the bright part of the movie. He just brings that evil charm that you just can't get enough of, and that wickedness, and all in all. Natalie Portman's just playing for the paycheck for the most part. Who is Kat Dennings, who plays Darcy?
I love Kat Dennings.
Do you? Oh, she's using everything she learned from Two Broke Girls to essentially make this movie have terrible grown-up
Don't you talk that way about her.
Oh, she was, I found her a little grating in the first one, but I was like, oh, well, they needed, the snarky. But in this one, I'm just like, please take her off. And there's a moment where they go to Asgard, and I was like, oh, great, we don't have to see Darcy anymore. And they do cutback scenes to her, and I'm just like, oh, it's tough. This movie, listen, you go to the movie and you can survive the first 45 minutes. You're probably going to have a lot of good times. There's some great action pieces. The final fight makes no sense at all, but it's fun, and you can get into it. Stellan Skarsgård, I can never pronounce his name right, is back, and he's probably the best performance in the film.
Even better than Anthony Hopkins?
Actually, Anthony Hopkins, I'll give him credit. I mean, listen, playing Odin is just like an easy, 2-inch putt for him. But he loves it. I mean, you can tell he loves it. He loves being in that armor and sitting on that throne. He loves it, and he just chews the scenery in it. But But it doesn't do anything that's, revolutionary and nothing exciting that brings anything new.
Right. So it's just.
He had better moments in the first one.
Really, and I could barely remember the first one.
Yeah.
Here's the truth. I had no interest in seeing these films. There are comic book movies that I have no interest in seeing. Captain America does next to nothing for me. The film incarnation. And Thor does next to nothing. Now, I thought they were okay films. I like Thor a little better than Captain America. Captain America was one of the least exciting, interesting comic book movie experiences that I've had in a long time, at least as far as major motion pictures are concerned. I have no interest in seeing Thor 2. I have no interest in seeing Captain America 2. If I have to, I will. So that's my experience and why I am leaving that review to you. But, it's definitely something I would check out on DVD, DVD, Blu-ray. Would you say, is it worth seeing in theaters or what?
I wouldn't, it's not worth spending all the money for 3D and all that jazz. See it on a 2D screen. The 3D did nothing for me. I felt it was actually sort of made this picture very grainy and stuff like that, but maybe that's just me. I give it, overall, I give it my grade of a 6.5, which is probably being generous towards it. Only because the last comic book movie I saw was Man of Steel, and anything other than that movie was going to get bonus points for not being Man of Steel.
I don't know. I think I'm much more interested in seeing Superman on the big screen than I am of seeing.
I'm a much bigger Superman fan as in the comics and through the history than I am a Thor fan.
I still think the film interpretation. By the way, I rewatched Superman 4 last week. I think Superman 4 is a better film than Superman 3. And watching the two of them side by side, even though one has bad effects, it's still much more of a Superman film. So I retract my 4 rating, I bump it up to a 5, and bump Superman 3 down to a 4.
I stand by my 1 on Superman 4. There's nothing redeemable about that
movie.
Yeah,
it is. I mean, there's some of the original quality, that we liked, that recaptured 1 and 2 better
Everyone
than 3
looks
did.
bored and old in that movie.
Christopher Reeve doesn't look bored and old. He doesn't. He's into it. He's like, I'm here to, save diplomatic problems. But more importantly,
and the premise is just awful.
Yes, okay, that's true. And the effects are awful. But anyway, you told me about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I watched the first 5 minutes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and I'm like, I'll get back to this, and then I never got back to it. But you've gone much further than me, so I'd love to
I
hear.
have been. I am sadistic or masochistic. What's the one where you like to punish yourself? Let's say masochistic for now, and you can correct me later. And I have been watching all the episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And every episode I say to myself at the end, why do I keep watching this show? It's conceptual-wise, I mean, having a TV show that ties directly in to the Marvel movieverse, as it's affectionately known, it is a fantastic idea. It's a wonderful idea, and I think you could definitely make one that doesn't need to be superheroes every week. But this show doesn't move fast at all. The things they have to topple and overcome each week, their obstacles are just weak. They're not very exciting. The team, outside of Phil Coulson, who's played by Clark Gregg, if I have his name right, or Greg Clark, whatever. That's what you get for having 2 first names. Really does a great job, and some of his performance in some of the episodes is really strong, but it stops there. I mean, the rest of the team is stock characters, and they're pretty people who are just there to pose and look good or be snarky, and it really hasn't found its stride yet. And every episode I watch, I start off with like, this is going to be the breakout episode. This is going to be like, where that real, Joss Whedon type show kicks in, and you're like, now I get it. They've established the cast, and now the problem comes up. What do you call it? But it has yet to happen. This past week's was a direct tie-in to Thor, which is why I got the idea. Well, the whole show ties directly into the Marvel universe, the Marvel movieverse. This one is a sort of direct tie-in. It's basically they're cleaning up London after the events of Thor, and then there's a whole Asgard. But even then, I mean, it's just they try to do some character development of Agent Ward, and it just made me realize that he's even more boring than I thought he was before. It's a show with amazing potential. They have not come anywhere near that potential. It's got a huge budget. It's got, occasional guest stars like Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury, Colby Smulders as Agent Hill, and a few more. But other than that, it's tough to follow.
The only superhero they had on was not a superhero. They had Sam Jackson, who has no superpowers. Well, that's kind of late. And their last episode was about them cleaning stuff up.
Well, it starts off cleaning that stuff up, and then later there's a tie-in because there's some Asgardian staff that was broken up and spread around, and people find it makes them super strong and crazy.
Oh, I guess that's kind of what we could
But it also brings out bad memories.
Anticipate from this upcoming rumored Scream series, where the mask is going to bring different things out of people. So basically, imagine that episode forever.
Please, I don't want to.
So, according to what some of the people in the chat room were saying, is that Sky is gorgeous.
She's the actress is very attractive to play Sky.
And
that's where I stop.
And where is Superwoman? Well, Superwoman's in the DC universe, pal.
There's no Superwoman.
Yeah, and if she
There's
existed,
Supergirl.
right, if she existed, well, now she's Superwoman. That comic came out a long time ago.
Well, that's true. At this point, she would definitely be a woman.
Right. So, any closing
And
thought?
retire.
Wait, do you have your show and tell item with you today?
I have I have pictures of it. Do we have time for a quick show and tell? It's what do you call it? It's actually a book. I actually brought it because this show is all about Dave. So I picked something Star Wars because Dave loves Star Wars. In case you haven't figured that out by now, and it's actually a book trilogy for the Star Wars universe called the Darth Bane trilogy. If you like books and like to read, and you like Star Wars, and you are a big fan of the dark side of the Force and you want to learn more about the world of the Sith and their order and how they do things, this is actually a fantastic book series. It's I actually read the first 2 books when I was stuck in the hospital for a week. Read them in like 3 days because there was nothing else to do. And it's really fantastic. It's the character of Darth Bane, and he becomes a Sith Lord during the time when there's hundreds of Sith Lords all over the place, and they're constantly at war with the Jedi. And he develops this whole new philosophy towards the Order and how they need to be in order to exist and achieve true power. It ties directly into to the Sith Lords in the films, even the first 3, but mostly the good trilogy. It's a fantastic read. It's a lot of fun. It's well written. The characters are definitely interesting. You root for the bad guy in this one, but you don't feel bad about it, which is kind of cool. But it's definitely one worth checking out. So you like Star Wars books, I would tell you, pick this one up. You won't be disappointed.
Darth Bane, what's next? Darth Batman? Does he have like this mask on?
No, it is entirely unrelated to the character of Bane. Although if you read it, you could imagine his voice sounding like that.
Okay, this is my show and tell.
Dave is never stopping plugging himself.
Well, it's related to. This is the most plug-audacious Dave Campfield you
Dave's
will ever
making up
see on
words.
this show. Well, Deron Miller made up
The theme of this show is by Dave and Mass, by Dave
My
and
film
Bolt.
came out this week, so
Dave,
whatever.
available this week.
Okay, but next week we're going. Okay, first of all, this is one of the key props in Cesar Ronaldo's Summer Game Massacre, and we made up like 10 shirts,
more of a
and
prop.
there's like 2 left. From this bit. So this is my show and tell, the primary prop that we used in our Sleepaway Camp spoof. But ladies and gentlemen, we have hit the end of the show now. Next week we're going into some very interesting territory. We're going to tonight wasn't interesting. We're going into time travel. We're going to have an episode dealing with Back to the Future. Anonymous alcoholic, hit me up later about one of these shirts. Z-Man too. But we're going to be dealing with the Back to the Future trilogy. We're going to talk in depth about that. We're also going to be talking with Christopher Guerrero about his Montauk experiment movie, which was a rumored incident in the late 1960s about experiments in invisibility off the east coast of Long Island, which sounded fascinating to me. So please tune in for the next week's episode. And thank you so much for watching. If you think that this show is not exciting enough, let me know and I'll set myself on fire.
That would be awesome.
So until next time, I'm Dave Campfield.
I am still Peppercorn Montgomery. And have a wonderful evening.
Peace, people.
God bless. Namaste.